Well, good afternoon, Central Oregon. Welcome to the 2021 Volunteer Central Oregon Board Fair, coming to you from beautiful downtown Bend, or wherever we are, sitting above Drake Park and right around the corner from the old mill. My name is Scott Brees. I'm the Executive Director of Kernicke Central Oregon, and we're actually happy to be helping facilitate the online board fair for many nonprofit organizations here in Central Oregon who are interested in talking to you about opportunities that may exist with their nonprofits and learning a little bit more about you, as well as giving you an opportunity to learn about that organization. We also are pretty excited because we have a number of what we've called our panel of experts, community leaders that have been part of Central Oregon's nonprofit community for many years and that are either serving currently in nonprofit board roles or have done so in the past. They're going to be floating around, and they're also available to help answer some questions. I believe off the top of my head right here, we have Ken Wilhelm from the United Way of Central Oregon. We have Betsy Warner from Volunteer Central Oregon. I'm sorry, from Volunteer Central Oregon and her own consulting firm. We're going to have Katie Brooks from the Bend Chamber online. And I apologize, I'm going to have to check my notes here in just a moment, but we have a couple of people from the Nonprofit Association of Oregon. Sherry Helt, local business owner and one of our former state representatives, is going to be joining us as well. All of these people have a lot of information to help you understand about being on a board or board service and helping serve in that capacity to our community. Our entire goal is simply to entice you to join us on the Zoom conference, and I'll ask the team in a moment or two to put up the Zoom ID again. But if you have not already gone to volunteercentraloregon.org, please do so. There's a section in there indicating all the connection information that you need in order to join the board fair via Zoom, as well as a list of all the participating organizations and their opportunities. Each organization maintains a profile on the Volunteer Central Oregon page and maintains and updates their opportunities frequently. So prior to this event, all 40 plus organizations were given an opportunity and a reminder to update their opportunities. I know my own organization, Kernicke Central Oregon, and one that I also support, which is the High Desert Makers. We've gone back in and created those opportunities, and we encourage you to go take a look at it. If you're coming back to this, and if you're seeing right now that you cannot connect to one of the breakout rooms, or if you've never used Zoom in a breakout room capacity before, and you don't see it, the easiest answer that'll help you solve that problem is simply to reinstall the Zoom application. Zoom has done a number of updates, and you may have been participating regularly in Zoom meetings and never had this problem before, but the way that this is set up, it does require you to actually have the latest version of the Zoom client. Easiest answer for you to do is just go to zoom.us or to the App Store. Simply download and reinstall the latest version. It's very easy, very simple, and honestly very straightforward. Once you do that, reconnect to the Zoom meeting again, and you'll see down at the bottom of the screen, in the same place that you would normally hit the mute or the video off button, you'll see that there is now a box that says breakout rooms. And if you don't see it, there's probably a ... that has a list of the buttons in there. That is definitely where you can go. Also find those, definitely where you can also go find some of the breakout rooms. And you will see breakout rooms listed by organization. And let me see if I can get my control room to see that we have somebody that popped in a little bit early here. But you'll see a list of organizations, any number of those 40 that are there, and each one of them is maintaining their own breakout room in the same way that if we had been hosting an in-person board fair, you'd just walk up to their table. So we encourage you to just join their breakout room. Not too difficult. If you have any comments, by all means, add them in the Facebook comments, add them in the YouTube comments, or honestly, we really just want you to connect and interact. This entire event is set up for you, and it is set up for the organizations to talk to you about their opportunities that they have. So I'm going to pause for a minute or two, and we're going to leave you with this beautiful background for a moment. while I mute, and I'm going to go check on a couple things to make sure we have some of the organizations that were having a little bit of startup difficulty, make sure they're all in. We have a team of interns and students that are in our control room right now managing this. It's one of the core things that we do as Connect Central Oregon. So we're managing right now about 50 breakout rooms. It's a pretty big Zoom conference with a lot of moving parts. So again, welcome to Board Fair, and if you're viewing this on Facebook, you can go get the Zoom information, the Zoom ID and the login and the passcode from volunteercentraloregon.org. So we'll be right back, and in the meantime, by all means, please enjoy the background, and we'll be back in just one moment. Thanks again. Well, look who's there.
Oops. Hello.
Hello. Let me double check with the control room and make sure that we're back live on Facebook. I'll wait for my perfect. Well, Betsy, welcome. Betsy Warner. I'm going to let you introduce yourself a little bit more, but you and I have been talking about putting on this board fair virtually, and you've been the one. You were one of the very first people that I met because at the time you had it was Volunteer Connect with here in Bend, and then ultimately you became Volunteer Central Oregon as it moved off to the High Desert Education Service District and Better Together. You know I love you to death, and I know this was something that we were so excited to be able to offer virtually. So again, welcome.
Thank you. It's great to be here, Scott, and it's so much fun to do this with you. It's a good partnership.
We have, for those that, I mean, the chances of people online right now who don't know you are slim. I'm beginning to realize that you know everybody, or they know you or know of you, and it's a true testament to your community connection. Betsy, we have a few experts that we decided to bring on, and of course I said you are my number one expert with this regard because I moved here from the Bay Area where I was participating with a board fair that was supported by Pacific Gas and Electric, a large organization that would run community board fairs in San Francisco and in Silicon Valley. And I was expecting to come up here and see the same sort of volume, and I realized very quickly after attending one of the first board fairs that I'm not in a town of 4 million people anymore. But at the time you were running the board fairs over at the Bend Community Center. And
right.
You were one of my first mentors to help me navigate the landscape here with regards to where I could help and what types of needs that were out there. And tell me a little bit more about what you've been doing and ultimately what brought you to the point where you created what was at the time Volunteer Connect and now Volunteer Central Oregon.
Well, before I retired, I worked first at Seattle University and then at Portland Community College, helping students volunteer in the community through service learning programs. And when I came here, decided to start an organization that would help students volunteer, and then that expanded to everybody volunteering. And I just believe that it's good for the volunteer, and it's certainly good for the community when people are engaged.
You know, it's funny, one of the things that we do here, we help out the City Club organization by helping produce their online events and their hybrid online events. And I think it was either 2 episodes or 3 episodes ago, we brought on the executive director of the Nonprofit Association of Oregon and Damon Runberg, who does our economic analysis. And they talked very specifically about the economic impact that volunteers provide, and nonprofits in particular provide here to Central Oregon. It's a reminder that we tend to think of volunteering as just that, volunteering. It's something to do, it's good for the community. But I think if nothing else, the pandemic has proved what those of us that have been doing volunteering for many, many years have known forever. It's incredibly impactful to the community, and it's incredibly impactful personally. What would you say in your many years of doing this type of support with students or with adults or just with organizations? What would you say, if I had to ask sort of what one thing sort of pops up and feels like it's the thing that you want to share as you look back on the evolution of what you've done here in Central Oregon to provide these volunteer opportunities and connect organizations and people? What would you say is the one thing that pops to mind of where you think we are today? And I know that's kind of a loaded question, so.
Well, I could answer that question almost any way, so thank you for giving me a wide open field. But my basic viewpoint is that we have enormous issues facing us. The pandemic, racism, economic divisions, climate change, and all of the issues that face communities every day. And we can either despair and sit back and live in our own cocoon and become more and more despairing, or we can get involved, and by getting involved and working on solutions with other people, we found that people become more hopeful. So if you want to become more hopeful, get involved.
Well, that about sums that up. Boy, there you go. There's your elevator pitch comment. Betsy, a shameless plug, and I'm going to ask the control room if they can bring it up, if they're able to. BetsyWarriner.com, BetsyWarriner.com.
Yeah.
That
BETSY at BETSYWARRINER.com.
Yep. And I'm telling the control room, yeah, it's actually up on my laptop right now, Daniel. So if you're able to, we're perfect. We'll ask Daniel to just kind of take, Daniel and Brent are our two leads are in the control room, and I've got them bringing up the website for those that want to see here. And if people...
And on that website, it has links to the two main projects I'm involved with, which are Volunteer Central Oregon and Community Conversations.
So we're going to bring you back. You're going to be here for 2 hours. I mean, we're not letting you leave the building, but we're going to bring you back a couple more times into the main room, because what we're doing right now, this room is literally just for us to go share out on Facebook and YouTube and entice people to join the actual Zoom conference right now and participate by moving into one of the breakout rooms to learn more about the organizations that are here representing, as well as learn how to connect up to the Volunteer Central Oregon website and see about opportunities and how they could register as a volunteer for just non-board positions. But next time we come back, let's absolutely talk further about the community conversation program, because I think that's another one of those great examples that you and I have talked together frequently over the years. And I just every time we talk, I learn something more fascinating about you and what you've learned out in the community. I had mentioned to our panel of experts earlier that one of the greatest values that I've gotten that you've shown me not only can be done, but proved it, is that you are, by having these community conversations, you in turn help me be better about going out and making these other connections. And I think it's that direct, indirect thing. You don't even know all the people that I've talked to just because you've sent me to go talk to them. And I'd love to learn more, and I'd love you to be able to talk more about the community conversations.
Okay.
But in the meantime, Betsy, welcome to the 2021 Volunteer Central Oregon Board Fair. You didn't think, you knew we could do it.
Oh, we are doing it, and everybody out there, come online and join us. And Scott, I'm sure, has been telling you how to get here.
Yeah, again, you don't sit here and watch us on Facebook and YouTube. We have a big Zoom room with all sorts of breakout rooms. Just join up, because I think if there's one thing that I've heard from our community, they don't get enough Zoom meetings. I need my little sarcasm sign. Well, Betsy, thank you. And Betsy, as we talked about before, as you find the other experts that are out there, we're going to bring them in and we're going to talk to them. But in the meantime, I want to encourage you. Betsy will be online. Betsy is available in one of the breakout rooms. If she's not floating around mingling, there is a Volunteer Central Oregon room, as well as the panel of experts room. And you'll see Betsy's name, and go track her down. Start a conversation and learn more about Betsy, and tell her more about yourself. All right, great. Betsy, we're here. We've got another, we're 22 minutes in, and we've got an hour and 38 minutes left. So we're going to bring you back a couple more times.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Bye.
Bye.
So while Betsy's headed back to her breakout room, for those that are online, again, if you have not already gotten the information for how to connect up, I believe down on the bottom of the screen right now, you're going to see the Zoom ID and the passcode. The passcode is very simple. It's boardfair, all lowercase. But if by now, there you go, 823-0593-1032, password boardfair. If by now you're watching this and you don't know how to connect to a Zoom meeting, it would truly be surprising. But if you've never used a breakout room before, maybe you've only joined a standard Zoom meeting, once you connect, as long as you're using the latest version of the Zoom application, down at the very bottom of the screen where you would normally mute your audio or turn off your video, there'll be a new little button down there that says breakout rooms. When you click that, it's going to give you a list of all the rooms, including it'll show you who's in those rooms. We've named the rooms based on the organizations that are here representing or having what is the equivalent of a virtual table like they would at a regular board fair, by all means, enter some areas, go visit some people, go hang out, go listen to questions that others are asking, learn about the need in our organization. But by all means, we're asking you to go ahead and engage, actually be part of the conversation. Let us and those organizations know what skills you have to offer, because this is one of the best examples where you might think that the greatest thing you want to do is go work with puppies, and it turns out, nope, you love river cleanup, and you suddenly find a connection, or vice versa, they find you. We think board fair and meeting those organizations all together is going to give you some of those connections. So we're going to be we're tracking down a couple of our experts here. So I'm going to ask the control room to take us back to our wide shot. You're taking a look at our beautiful facility here at the Oregon State University Cascades Graduate Research Center. Connect Central Oregon, my nonprofit that is a career technical ed and student program, is designed for providing career technical ed on doing event production. You're sitting here in what we call the CoLab Studios. It's sitting here up on the second floor. I've got a nice view of the old mill and a nice view of Riverbend Park out here. We help facilitate video conferences. We do recordings. We do, as you can see, we do managed Zoom meetings. Many of the entrepreneurs that have been coming through the Innovation CoLab, the project of Oregon State Cascades, have used us to help produce videos for them. That's a core part of what we're doing. The students that we work with, and student is a relative term, it doesn't have to mean a young adult, but most of ours are. They've participated in and helped other companies and other organizations run other events. You've seen our students involved with the TEDx events. You've seen them running the concerts. You've seen them at the River House running events for the Chamber, for EDCO, and so on. And one of the main goals of Connect Central Oregon is to continue to feed that program and make sure that these services are available to help support the community. So obviously we're doing a shameless plug by running the event itself. We are also representing, I have my board chair and a couple of other members sitting in a Connect Central Oregon room, a breakout room. I encourage you to go talk to them and learn more about what we're doing, and possibly see if your skills or interests align with us and you want to come hang out and work in the cool studio, or specifically work with and learn about how to do event production and provide that strong community engagement and management. So we're going to step back, and I'll mute for a moment or two while we rally up and wrangle up. Even though we're all online, we still need a little bit of physical wrangling. We're going to wrangle up a couple of our experts, and we're going to continue this conversation. But down on the bottom of the screen right there, the code that you see, 823-0593-1032, go to Zoom, go to your Zoom application on whatever you're on, your PC, your laptop, your mobile device, whatever. Go ahead and connect up to that meeting. Password boardfair, all one word, lowercase. Join one of the breakout rooms. Learn more about the organizations that are here in Central Oregon. We'll be back in a couple of minutes. Again, enjoy the view while we're back, until we're back. All right, and Daniel, when you're ready, let me know when we're live again, please. All right, well, welcome back. We have a couple of our experts that are going to be joining us here in a moment. Perfect. We have, in a moment, we're going to ask Katie to turn on her video. We have Katie Brooks. I'll wait until she turns on her video. There you are, Katie. And now we'll wait for her to unmute.
Unmute. Hi, everybody. Sorry.
Katie, this is your, I think, this is either your third or your fourth total Zoom meeting this year, right? Or is it, sorry.
Add a couple of zeros to that.
Exactly, sarcasm fully intended. Well, welcome. I thank you for joining us today. And again, we had reached out to you in no small part because you have a great deal of insight into the community need here for volunteers, and in particular, board level need. And in fact, I was going to say this earlier, when I first moved here to Central Oregon and when I started getting myself involved with some nonprofits, it was your predecessor, Tim Casey, who spent some time guiding and coaching me, and he was talking to me a great deal about how the chamber itself was able to continue to field some of those requests. And I think Volunteer Central Oregon is another one of those examples where both the chamber and the Volunteer Central Oregon organizations kind of partner off each other to help figure out where the need is and connect people. I think
that's right.
I think that's been a great opportunity and a great example of what you do. Who are you seeing out there that has the need right now for board level or advisory board level support?
There's always a need, and my advice would be that you need to align your time with something that resonates with you personally. I've spent my career in business and economic development and things of that nature. So I personally not only have a board that is fabulous, it's 18 business people from our community who give their time for my organization to help support businesses and their employees in Bend. But I also serve on the Central Oregon Intergovernmental Council. That's a board that is a service board for the Tri-County area. I serve at the state for the governor on the Early Learning Council because I care deeply about childcare. I think it's a workforce issue as well as a human and a family issue. That really resonates with me. And I serve on another board called Looking Forward, and it's a bunch of folks who are thought leaders in Central Oregon who get together to try and unravel and assist with really more systemic, bigger, longer term issues. So I guess my advice would be, what's your expertise? It doesn't always have to be something that you feel like you're an expert in to volunteer to be on a board. If you have passion for it, you bring something to the table, and there's always something to learn. There's a whole bunch of things that you'll learn about how every board actually operates and how they interact. Talk to the people who are on the board already, because you'll often find that you make some really terrific connections personally with people that you serve with. And there's no shortage of places where you can volunteer your time in Central Oregon. And if it's the economy or children or the houseless or any other issue that you feel deeply about, I'm sure there are some organizations here that are looking for folks like you to give a little bit of time.
And if there's not already an organization, go create one.
Which is what a lot of people have done here.
Well,
yes. I think we have, over 300 plus nonprofits.
That's exactly right. And in fact, we were mentioning earlier that City Club recently brought on the members of the the executive director of the Nonprofit Association of Oregon and Damon Runberg to talk about the economic impact about nonprofits specific to Central Oregon.
Right.
And they were giving both the numbers in terms of the quantity as well as each of the sectors and how much economic impact and how many employees and represented employees. I will tell you, it blew me away. But it's, as somebody who has participated not only in helping put together nonprofits, but serving on boards, it didn't surprise me tremendously. It just surprised me in terms of the quantity for such a small region. And I know for me, the pandemic has also been a great example of many people that are stuck at home have been able to participate in ways in which they may not have otherwise been able to by providing Zoom support or doing remote consultations, as an example.
Right.
To that end, I was going to say, in your experience, both personally and professionally, is there one sort of common thread other than the personal interest, the one that what drives you, the passion? Is there one thing that you see that people either ask of you or that you tell people, this is the thing that you need, or this is the area to focus on? Is there one?
I don't think there is, but I'll tell you there are some themes that are pretty ubiquitous across volunteer land. One is boards are always looking for folks who have some understanding of finances.
Right.
If you have that skill, you are wanted everywhere.
Right.
And
grant writing.
And grant writing and human resources and strategic thinking, things like that are in high demand across the board. And so when I look for a board member for the Bend Chamber of Commerce, we have some prerequisites. You have to be a C-level or an owner of a business. So, but if you're in that area, if you have a passion for making this a place where people can do business and also live in a place that we can all find a place to live, we can all find childcare, we can get a job, we have social services, we have a healthy, vibrant community that supports a healthy, vibrant business community. That's what I look for. My board represents every industry sector. We try to have diversity on the board. We're always trying to have diversity on the board, and I'm the first to admit we've still got a long way to go to represent who truly is business in Bend. And I guess that the overarching factor to your question is passion and interest,
right.
Curiosity, those things.
Well, we continue to encourage people to go to volunteercentraloregon.org, register as an individual, look at the organizations that are listed there and the opportunities that are listed. Obviously, either online, hybrid, or ultimately in-person meetings are coming up where you're going to get that type of networking. I know the Bend Chamber in particular runs a number of online events and networking type events as well. And I know you're, like I said, the 300 or 400 per month Zoom meetings that you do. I want to thank you. I thank you for the time. And if are you going to be able to stay with us online on Zoom for a little bit longer? I know you had a busy schedule
I'll
today.
still be in the panel of experts, whatever that means. I'm in that room.
Well, we didn't want to call you just those folks that, right? The opinionated ones. There you go.
There you go. I can live with that.
Well, Katie, definitely for those that are online right now, join the Zoom meeting right now. You can find Katie along with a number of our other community leaders and experts that have a lot of experience, both personally and professionally, doing board service or connecting other people up. But again, Katie, by all means, thank you very much for chatting with us. We're inviting people, this is up on Facebook just to help entice people to join us on Zoom, but wanted to say thank you. And again, thank you for joining us. And by all means, connect people up and tell them to go find organizations where they can find their passion, as you said, and connect it up as their skill. Thank you.
Super glad to be here. Thanks.
Thank you.
Bye.
So again, for those that are online right now, the Zoom ID is down on the bottom of your screen right now. It is 823-0593-1032. Oh, there is Betsy. Look at Betsy. Betsy joined us again. Betsy, is this a Zoom bomb? I think that's what they call it.
I just wanted to see if Katie was still here.
Oh, Katie just is headed back to the panel of experts room.
Oh.
So in fact, you know what? Hey, Betsy, if you'd like to talk to one of our other experts, join the Zoom conference and head to the breakout room called Panel of Experts Room, and I'm sure they'd be happy to engage with you.
Great, I will do that right now.
Excellent, perfect, thank you. And by the way, if you see Ken in your passing, send him on in here. We'd love to chat with him for a minute.
Okay, I will do that.
Wonderful, thanks. Again, we're sort of playing this by ear, folks, as you can tell. One of the things that I love about the team that's in the back in the control room here is they can take pretty much anything we throw at them. They typically tend to throw things back when I'm the one throwing it. But We are live here in the Oregon State University Cascades Graduate Research Center. We operate out of the Innovation CoLab, which is a prime project of the OSU Cascades program. In fact, Adam Kernicke, he's the executive director of the CoLab. He is one of our experts that's online and available for you to talk with. What you're doing, I mean, we're sitting here obviously on a beautiful day looking out over Riverbend Park and over Old Mill. One of the great blessings about being here in Central Oregon is the fact that we have all this sunshine, all these opportunities, and for most, if not all of these organizations, they are dedicated to providing a stronger community and in different capacities. We're going to take a look here in a few minutes at different organizations and that are represented here, but we've kind of got a little of everything. And there, speaking of one that is kind of an encompassing organization, is United Way of Central Oregon, and the executive director, Ken Wilhelm. Ken, how are you?
I'm good, Scott.
Welcome.
Glad to be here. Nice to meet you.
Yeah, I was going to say, this is another one of those fun examples where I know for me and many of my team, we're quite often in the background helping run some of the events, and vice versa. One other thing here about Central Oregon is there's so many different interconnected groups, organizations, activities, and so on, and yet you're constantly finding somebody new that's been here forever. So there we go.
Well, I'm not sure forever, but let's see, 88, that would be 33 years. So
you know what, if you can remember back that far to what Bend looked like, then it's going to be in the forever category.
Yeah. I remember when we actually had log decks. We actually had lumber mills, that kind of stuff. So
wow.
A lot has changed.
A
lot has paid the pain.
Little personal story along that line. Many years ago, from a corporate perspective, I worked for Costco and Price Club, and it was about, I think we're coming up on 30 years, myself and a member of our corporate office came into Bend to go look at the site that ultimately became Costco, and we stood up on top of Pilot Butte, and I still have the photo, and there was almost nothing east of Pilot Butte at the time. And I took a similar photo when I moved my family here ultimately in 2011, so it was about 1992, I think it was. And of course, the view east from Pilot Butte is a little different, not to mention north, south, and west. But to that end, and in fact, United Way continues to be one of those parent or encompassing organizations, not only as a safety net, but also helping provide access as communities grow. United Way is obviously much larger than Central Oregon, and yet Central Oregon being one of the fastest growing metro areas, and then during the was it 2006, during the 2006-07 time, it was also one of the highest need communities because of the financial
Right.
outfall. United Way has been there with the various services. Tell me a little bit about your experience here and what continues to drive you as executive director.
Yeah, well, thank you for the opportunity, Scott. The United Way, I would start with describing, a lot of folks know United Way. They recognize the name. Like you say, we've been around a while. But what is a myth maybe is that we're a large organization. We're part of a large movement, if you will. But I use the example of chambers of commerce. Not every community, but most communities have a chamber of commerce. Most communities of any size, and but they look a lot different because of what the needs are and what the resources are in any given community. United Ways are kind of like that. We are a network, and there is a United Way worldwide, United Way of America, and they do provide some coordination and the licensing and the brand and all that sort of stuff. But what makes us work and why we've been able to adapt and stay around so long is that we are locally run and operated, and we are focused on what the needs are in our community, and those have evolved as you suggested. So, I have a local board of directors that I report to, and they're the ones that are really steering the ship for the organization.
Now, I'm going to ask you along those same lines. I've served in various capacities as either staff or as a board member itself. Currently, I serve as the executive director of the nonprofit that I'm in right now, as well as a board member of another. They obviously have different responsibilities, and we serve at the pleasure of each other, if you will. I know your board is pretty diverse and pretty well connected. In fact, I took a look earlier. Many of the board members that are on United Way of Central Oregon's board are also on other boards or have other full-time roles in other community-related organizations, either for-profit or nonprofit. When you go out and look for people to support the mission of United Way of Central Oregon, when you recruit, what are you looking for? What's your sort of elevator pitch target?
Yeah. And that's changed a little bit. One thing that hasn't changed is passion. It's people that are passionate for the community and the community's health and well-being. I think we are particularly interesting to folks that want to look at the big picture, as opposed to, some of us have a real passion around. I'm passionate about little kids, or I have a passion about animals, or for the elderly, or folks with disabilities, and like to dive deep into that. United Way is kind of unique in being able to take a look at the community broadly and help identify emerging needs and maybe where there's gaps in services, those kinds of things. So we're taking a broader, and you mentioned it earlier, kind of a broader umbrella type approach to things. One thing that I would say, when you talked about what we're looking for, we are looking to be a diverse board so that it represents the community. And in Central Oregon, that's a challenge because we're changing and growing so fast. And we have some communities with some pretty distinct cultures. So what is needed and what things look like on the ground in Prineville is different than Sisters, is different than Lapine, is different than Dead Redmond, and so on. So that's a little bit of a challenge. We want folks that are connected to those communities and can help us identify what those needs are. And we also are looking to, I'm glad you said that our board looked somewhat diverse, because that's a challenge, and we've been working at that for the last few years, bringing on some younger folks, trying to have folks of color and folks that are connected to other potentially marginalized groups. And I think we've been somewhat successful. And so we're also proactive in what we're looking for. So as we identify areas of our board where we maybe aren't strong or aren't as well connected, we'll go out and recruit specifically for that, as long as there's someone that has passion and fits that other bill.
Well, I'm going to ask you to forecast one for a minute, because this is actually something I'm particularly interested in. My particular background is information technology, and I've been doing data centers and remote support for years. So I jokingly say I, for one, welcome this pandemic, because we've been doing this stuff for 40 years like it's nothing. And yeah, exactly. Now, I'm very interested, given the amount of support, the immediacy of the support from the government, from local agencies. Once that immediacy goes away, if you will, or the immediacy of the federal and the state and regional support, there's going to be another one of those community demands that builds up. As you're forecasting, given your existing board makeup right now, or maybe this is, maybe I'm hitting you up before your board retreat where you guys go figure out what the priorities are. What do you see for 2022 if you were recruiting a board member that wanted to either develop some skills, or if you were in your own mind forecasting, what are we going to need here in Central Oregon, or what will United Way need? What are things that are spread like peanut butter that I'll know Sisters might need something different than Prineville, but what can you think of that we're going to need in 2022?
Yeah, there's challenges, and this is a little bit out of our wheelhouse, but around economic prosperity for a broader swath of folks. We talk a lot about equity, and that shows up in a lot of conversations now in other realms as well. But what we want is a region where everybody has an opportunity to thrive, and that may be different from one family to another. For someone, it might be a need for some additional education or training. For someone, it might be childcare so that they can work or pursue school. What we need to do is find ways to be responsive to those particular customized kind of needs that folks are going to have. And we particularly are focused around more so, for lack of, there's a group that we call ALICE. And if you're not familiar with ALICE, it stands for Asset Limited, Income Constrained, Employed. And so maybe a more common phrase is the working poor, or those folks that are working and they're making almost enough to survive, or they're making enough to meet their needs, but they can never really get ahead because there's always something that they're living on the margin. So a car that breaks down, or a medical emergency, or utilities, or something like that helps sets them back, and they struggle to move forward. So we're looking at what can we do to find those people and set up programs so that those folks can find and get what they need to do more than just survive, but actually start on the road to thriving.
Well, that's a great point, Ken. I was just thinking to myself, of all the diverse experience you've got with the different communities, the cultures, and so on, as well as the board that you work with, you're absolutely one of the very first people that Betsy and I wanted to talk to and wanted to bring on as what we referred to as our panel of experts, because there are so many out in the community that may have just heard what you said. I know I was going to my mind going, I've got 3 answers or 3 ways in which my background and experience could help that. My personal example is we've got, I don't know, probably 20 or 30 people here in the region that have run various Dave Ramsey or other financial programs that start with build up a safety net fund, as an example, for those exact types of things. And they aren't the ALICE model that you described necessarily, but it's getting that thought process through. Those people might be interested in helping you deliver programs into the community. And it doesn't have to be as a board member. I tell this to people all the time. The concept of a board member is somebody that has the legal responsibilities towards the board and the public, stewarding the public trust and the public benefit. But the advisory board and people that are just friends of can also help provide some tremendous impact. Go ahead.
As you say, absolutely.
I'm excited that you're here. As I said before, you're one of our panel of experts. If you're online right now watching this on YouTube or Facebook, why are you there? We're over here on Zoom. Ken's over here on Zoom. You can find Ken. It's not even too hard to find him. He'll be in the panel of experts breakout room or visiting with some other nonprofits. And if you have some questions that you want to apply or ask directly to Ken, again, thank you for making yourself available for our community. And I'm gonna ask all of you, or I'll probably even ask Betsy to come back. I'd love to hear what the types of questions you're hearing online are, because of course we've been dealing with the pandemic, and people have done a couple of Zoom calls here and there over the last year, but this is the very first time that we've run any sort of interactive community need board fair that is this broad, where people can have some stuff to run around. So please do provide some feedback to us as well. And again, thank you for helping us on the board fair this year.
Absolutely. Thank you, Scott.
All right. Excellent.
You send me, or do I need to leave?
Oh, so you get to do the same thing. You get to pick, just like everybody else online, you get to go to your breakout rooms and decide where you want to go. And in fact, so go ahead, whenever you're ready, head there. I'll keep talking to the audience out there, because again, if you're watching us on YouTube or Facebook right now, come on over to Zoom. Just fire up your Zoom application enter the numbers you see down on the bottom, 823-0593-1032. The passcode is boardfair, all lowercase, one word. Join the breakout rooms. If you're not seeing the breakout room, it simply means you're not running the latest version of the Zoom app. Ken, I was going to say I'll ask our control room here in just a moment to set. We can administratively send you places.
No, I'm ready to move. I just wanted to say goodbye. I didn't want to just.
Oh no, please, by all means, thanks. Bye, Ken. Thanks again.
Bye-bye.
Again, great opportunity. If you want to meet with and talk with some of our experts, that's a huge part of what we wanted to do with Zoom and why we set it up this way. It's very open. It is not just you listening to us. I mean, I know this is going to surprise a lot of people. I'm an introvert myself, and I'm doing this to help facilitate some of that social engagement, but don't sit here and listen to me for a couple of hours, which, again, trust me, the chances of you doing that, I understand, are pretty slight. But if you're even hearing me right now, my entire goal is to get you to go onto Zoom and go participate. This is set up as an interactive program. And to that end, let me introduce Adam. Where are you? I feel like the I'm with stupid thing, right? Yeah. This is Adam Kernicke. Adam is the executive director of the Innovation Collab here at Oregon State Cascades. In fact, it is where my nonprofit Connect Central Oregon was formed with the help of. And Adam has helped facilitate a number of activities and for entrepreneurs. And with the pandemic, what's the key word again? Pivot, or the four-letter word these days. We've put together a lot of programs together. And again, Adam, this was one where you've been able to be there as one of our experts. What have you been seeing today other than people who don't run the latest version of Zoom?
So I've been seeing a number of people come through, and most people are looking just for an opportunity, right? They're looking for what's next to help out in the Bend community. Also, I've seen a lot of our facilitators and our leaders in the community start to coordinate and talk to one another because maybe it's the first time that we've seen one another. We all kind of work in different realms in Central Oregon. I work in economic development and help people produce jobs and new businesses. And whereas a couple of other organizations such as the United Way has a broad purpose, usually in social programs, helping with neighbor, more of the things like childcare, education, and other types of things like that. And then we have a couple of other people like Betsy, who runs VeganNet, which is, she's also coordinating this meeting, but it's things like for vegans as a support group. So what's nice about this particular event is that we are all kind of getting together, talking about our own initiatives, how we've been impacted this year. And so it's been interesting to talk to the volunteers as well as talk to the other leaders in the community about what's going on now and what's next.
Well put. Adam, I was going to say to you, you and I met a couple years ago. In fact, I took one of your classes that was presented by OSU Cascades and the Innovation Collab that was about nonprofit management, and I'm trying to even remember the name of the class. You could probably remember it, but
Nonprofit Catalyst?
I think it was the Catalyst at the time. And I sat in a room with a lot of people that had these fantastic ideas about starting a nonprofit, and you were giving them this entire toolkit of the types of questions and things that you would need to be thinking of. And even though I had already run a nonprofit before and helped develop one here in Central Oregon and had gone through many of those same questions, it was another one of those great refreshers. As we talked about one of the needs that we saw here in the community and the direction that I wanted to go. You helped me put together what is now Connect Central Oregon, and in turn, we've been able to partner together to provide some really strong support to our community through the Collab studios and with the Collab micro internship program, and again, you continue to get requests not only from the community but also from the community organizations. One of the things that I wanted to highlight on that in particular was the OSU Collab interns are the ones, along with you, that processed those last couple of rounds of the grants through COIC.
Yeah, it's interesting. Phil Chang just stepped into our leader room a few moments ago, and I brought that up. He goes, "Thank you for helping us figure that out." And it was wonderful to connect on that point. But as a greater thing for the community, OSU Cascades is really trying to amplify its community connection, right? A lot of universities can be what's known as an ivory tower, as some other places that would describe it. And so what we've built is an incubator that's community first. These are community startups, these are community small businesses and community nonprofits. And over the last year, we focused on advising and coaching one-on-one, in which I provide, as well as providing workshops and online education opportunities. And then the other thing that we've been doing is our micro internship program, our student consultancy program. Basically, our students will work on projects for these companies. And in the future, we're going to grow all that. We're going to grow our community connection so that in a few years, we have a thriving innovation district in Bend, where we have businesses that can grow here and stay here instead of moving over to Portland to get the workforce that they need or the equipment that they need. We're going to do things like we're going to build our ties with industry so that we can go after federal money for industry-sponsored research. We're going to build more technology at the university that we roll out to local companies. And a lot of universities have a thriving tech transfer office. And in the future, we're going to have more research here. So therefore, we're going to have more ability to support our business community. It only grows from here, and it only grows because of our community connection.
So I'm sitting here listening, and I buy into all that because I've seen it happen, and I see some of the organizations that come through here, and they ask us how we can help. We've talked a great deal about the partnership opportunities where some people have come that have a great idea and some strong community impact, but limited budget. They can't go to a professional organization to pay for that organization to do all that work. I think not only the micro interns, but also, as you've called, here internally, I'm calling it our panel of experts, and I'm going to hear about this later, but I even called you one of our experts. So yeah, I know.
It's your mistake, not mine.
Well, but it got you to join, so that'll work. But along those same lines, I think this continues to be one of the best examples of that whole circuitous support, where providing those opportunities for the students actually enriches their workforce readiness, which in turn helps provide a stronger community and helps provide some of that very deep, meaningful impact on those projects. You and I have talked about this for a couple of years. We've been talking about how to put together different ideas that match what the requests are, but may not directly match what they're asking for. We know what they're trying to get to, and the micro internship, I know for me, for Connect Central Oregon with the program, has been one of the greatest examples of what works, and in fact, we continue to expand it. So we've got social media interns out there. We've got the students that are working on the projects right now for the broadcasting program. We have the programming and development. You mentioned that. I was going to ask you a moment ago, you have a lot of experience personally, even before you came over here to OSU Cascades, working with various nonprofits. You've seen the need morph. I asked Ken Wilhelm this a little bit earlier. If you could forecast what the need is going to be for the 2022 board recruitment, what would it be? As a sort of spread across peanut butter, not county specific or city specific.
So what's funny is that the need morphs over time, and the hype cycle and the words that we use changes. So for example, in the nonprofit world and economic development world years ago, we talked about clustering. Then we talked about incubators. Then we talked about accelerators. Then we talked about, whatever next big issue. But here's the real thing, is that all of this is about collisions of people. As long as we keep on creating opportunities for collisions among people, innovation and better processes, better methods happen. And so the need that I see in the future after COVID is that we're going to have to emerge out of what we've done over the last year, but take these new tools that we've learned. So we've now hosted a virtual tabling and virtual volunteer fair, and we've now spent a lot of time on Zoom. So what I see for the future, the need is to open up the opportunities for collisions, not just by having small rooms of people and the 30 people that can attend in Central Oregon, but if we take this opportunity, it's a golden opportunity to go beyond Bend to expand what we do to Madras, to Brineville, to La Pine, to across the state, to create collisions among inventors and entrepreneurs and the nonprofit leaders that we have in this community beyond just us, we're going to see a lot more opportunity, not just for us, but across the state.
Well, you know, it's a great point. I was looking down here as I'm kind of scrolling through the list here, and you mentioned the different organizations and the need here. When we presented this opportunity to do the breakout rooms and do the online, everybody's zoomed out. Everybody's got, as they call, Zoom fatigue or online meeting fatigue. Everybody's chomping at the bit to go out. On the other hand, not everybody's going to go out. In fact, not everybody that has something to either give or not everybody that has a need is going to go out. So the hybrid example is the thing you and I have been talking a great deal about. Many of the organizations that are presenting here today said they're ready to have that virtual table or breakout room, but they would love to have people participate who can't come in, and vice versa. They want to put the need there together. In fact, we have somebody right now, one of our board members out there. There's a lot of people that have a need that doesn't have to be performed physically in person. So
Right.
I think, again, one of the things that you and I have been talking about a great deal, and I'm very happy to be providing and thankful to OSU Cascades for the opportunity, because it clearly is providing that community impact, is we're rapidly moving into this hybrid model where those organizations and the people are going to be a mix of those that can or can't go out and go physically connect. So
Yeah.
I guess if nothing else, Adam, I want to continue to say that this has been a great program for me to help develop and get that, as I said, adult supervision, even though we haven't found some adults that supervise me yet. I know.
You do enough supervising yourself, and you've been the catalyst for unlocking events like this, as well as hybrid events for the future. I mean, Scott, you are the force behind the CoLab studio and the Connect Central Oregon Network Events Center. And so without you, none of this happens.
Well, you
And
know
in the
what? We're going to keep you online for the next 15 minutes then, as we continue to talk about. Just kidding. But
if you just want me to keep complimenting you, I'm going to end this a little bit short.
What I want to do is I want to say, and a shameless plug for both of us, that when Betsy Warner and I from Volunteer Central Oregon were talking about this, I said without even skipping a beat, absolutely, the Innovation CoLab and Connect Central Oregon are here. What do you need? And we very rapidly threw this together. We presented it out to the community, and they immediately picked right up on it. So I guess if nothing else, my comment would be, for those organizations that have a need for something like this, not necessarily a 50 breakout room conference, but if they need some advising or if they're interested in applying to participate with the CoLab or the CoLab studios, where do they go?
So they just go to osucolab.org and they can sign up. They can see what we're doing there. And the way to sign up is you basically just sign up online. It's a quick 10-minute process. It's as easy as putting your registration information in, and there's no payment due at the time. To get started with us right now, we're running a low rate due to COVID, and we're primarily online. It's $25 a month. And then to use our interns, it's $17 an hour, and we only bill you monthly. And these interns can do everything from social media marketing to building websites to doing things like programming software. And we have people programming firmware right now, and I'm receiving updates via my phone about all the automated data that's coming. Also, I'd be remiss if I didn't mention that we also have, because of you, the opportunity to do videography and editing and produce live events like this, which has been an amazing opportunity for the interns and the students, as well as for the university. And we're extremely thankful for Connect Central Oregon and you, Scott.
Well, again, you can stay here all day while we talk about how wonderful we all are. But the truth is, and I know you know this, and we've talked about it very openly, collectively, we're doing this because we believe this is how we strengthen our community. We believe, I have been extremely happy with OSU Cascade's support of the community and their commitment. I'm sitting here in a room that was a co-working space, and though on governor's order we were all off the campus for a great deal of the time, as the allowance allowed us to come back, the very first directive was, how can we collectively serve our community? What is being asked for? And as you mentioned, we've been fielding a lot of requests that have been to help run these online activities and help provide some of that engagement while we navigate the pandemic. So I guess if nothing else, I'm going to say to you that I again really appreciate being here. This has been a great help for growing the organization, and with that, I will also say as kind of a takeaway, I'm building this organization with the intent of growing and hiring my replacement, and having my board hire my replacement and also grow. We've got a couple new board members coming on as well, and this being the board fair, I want to continue to remind people that as these organizations grow, if you've got experience with business growth, with the various components that you described that the university offers in terms of the advising, this is a great partnership program where you could actually be part of either Connect Central Oregon or help you, Adam, as one of your, I know EDCO calls them stable of experts. You and I have talked about the experts in residence, I think we've talked about, or so. For those that are out there, again, shameless plug, I'm not mincing words on this stuff. Learn more about what we're doing through connectcentraloregon.org or OSU Colab, you said .org, correct? And you're going to meet one of us, you're going to come in and talk. But in the meantime, if you join the Zoom conference that is being hosted and managed right now by the OSU Colab interns and Connect Central Oregon, so if you're online right now watching this on Facebook, get off YouTube, come on over to Zoom. You're going to find Adam in the panel of experts room, and you can ask him more about how wonderful we are.
Happy to always talk about that, Scott. Thank you so much for your time today. And
thank you, Adam, as well.
I'm looking forward to working with you more in the future.
Awesome. Thanks again, Adam. Appreciate it.
Thanks.
All right, in the control room, here's what we're going to do. And I'm going to, for those of you that are there, I've got a couple of student interns that are running as our leads here. One student, one non-student. Two of our lead techs, Daniel and Brent, that have been running a number of events for us and are just fantastic, not only dealing with me as a nightmare client right now, but also as a supervisor and an organizer of this controlled chaos and uncontrolled chaos that is the online Zoom management. We're going to sit here and we're going to go Zoom bomb a couple of rooms. So let's see what we can do. I'm going to take a look really quick, and we're just going to pick one at random here. And I say, let us go join. We'll go join 350 Deschutes. So join it on my laptop. I see what he's saying. So we're going to do that. Oh. Where are we? There is Sherry Helt.
Hello, how are you?
Hello, Sherry. Thank you. Another one of our invited experts. And I don't need to, before we were about to go Zoom bombing some other rooms, but by all means, happy to have you here. Thank you for joining.
Oh, I'm so glad to join you. Thanks for doing this. I have been having so much fun Zooming around all of these rooms. I can't believe how complex and easy to navigate this is. You did a spectacular job. Not that I would expect anything less.
You know, we just spent the last 10 minutes with Adam Kernicke of the Colab, who sat here. The two of us were going back and forth. So you either picked right up on it or I'll take the pandering, but thank you. In fact, actually, Sherry, that's a great point. You and I have known each other for quite some time through various projects before you took state office and after as well. And I know we've talked a great deal about the impact and how we're able to tackle some of the projects, including some of the chaos. It doesn't scare us. We're willing to step into it. We're willing to try things. And I know even my own student interns through the Colab studios, we spent a great deal of time preparing, buying equipment, putting things in place. But I threw these guys for a loop and I said, here's what I'm going to go do. We didn't pull off everything we wanted to, but we're running a live event that is intended strictly to engage people and to bring them in and put them in front of organizations who may not have, and we're finding don't have, the resources to connect with their communities during the pandemic. So I think this is another one of those perfect examples where we're here for a reason and we're delivering, and it's not about us. So I know that I've known you long enough to know that that is what you believe in as well, strengthening our community. So I wanted to ask you a question though.
Yes.
You made it great, because as I sent off the notice to all of the experts, I said, I want you to just be you. It is so rare, if ever, that you're given an opportunity to come to an event where you have no responsibility other than float, be you, and engage. I noticed, we've been watching as you and a couple of others have been floating around.
Yeah.
What are you seeing? What are you hearing? What are people
Well, I got
looking at?
recruited to a board, so thanks for that, Scott.
Oh.
Up until this point, I had no meetings on my schedule.
They got to you before I did. All right. Well, now,
It was very fun.
But did you say yes?
Well, this one's been recruiting me for a bit, so I was excited to say yes. I'm going to join the Red Cross board.
Oh, wonderful. Okay. In fact, that's
Yeah,
actually one of the ones
so-
we were thinking of joining over here.
Yeah, so I have, my husband and I did a lot of work feeding people from the wildfires last year, as everyone knows, because we spent a lot of time at Zydeco doing that. And so Dale had asked me if I would join that board, and so I said yes. I haven't told Dale yet, though, so anyone that's listening shouldn't tell him yet. I'll have to call him tomorrow.
Don't worry. I think there might be one, maybe two viewers out here. I don't exactly have a following out there, if you will, right? Well, actually, that's a great point, though, because you've been a board member. You've been, I'm trying to remember, I was going back to the bio earlier. You've obviously performed in public office before, in political office, both in the school board and with our state as well. They all have similar requests and obviously different legal requirements for each, but I was going to ask you if you'd join another board, but you almost answered that. If you could do something right now with your time, would you start another board or would you join a board? Are there needs that you see that aren't being met by organizations?
So I always have a rule before I join something. My rule is that I never keep my seat warm. I never join a board because I want to build a resume. I join a board because I feel like I have something to add, or there's something that I can help move forward. And I think that that's really important. And so one of the things that I like about the Red Cross board is that they're gearing up for wildfire season. And the fear is that it will be a big season. One of the expertises that I bring is feeding people, and they feed people on this mass scale. So I can really, I think, help in that way of helping organize meals and being able to do some of that work, which I really personally enjoy, is making sure that you're taking care of the people who need to be taken care of and didn't realize they needed to be taken care of even the day before, and so that is important work to me. So that would be an outlet where I'd be able to continue that work that I was able to do at the state level, but do it for the Red Cross. So I'm excited about that. And that's why I chose that board. But it's really important. The thing that sets our communities apart from other communities is how many passionate people we have who are willing to give their time and their expertise and make changes in our community. And that's really what fills our community and makes Bend different, is we have such a plethora of people who are willing to give their time, and so many experts in so many areas, like yourself with your technology. I mean, this meeting that you have put together with over 50 breakout rooms and 50 different NGOs is just spectacular. And I'm guessing there's not many communities that have it set up this way, because one of the things that can happen during COVID is that everybody can have more time than they've ever had in their lives. And we will have less volunteering because of people being in their homes, which is what we've asked of them, is to not go around into the communities. But I think that this could be a really great way to connect and make sure that when we get out of COVID, you have a lot of people that can hit the ground running.
You brought up a really good point. I think Betsy Warner is obviously who I came to originally and said, Betsy, are we going to do board fair? Because I had a board recruitment need myself for my own nonprofit. And Betsy's comment was, we don't know how to do it. We can't do it. And my response is, oh, well, I can do that, and the collab, the innovation collab here with OSU Cascades can do it. It is our directive now, both collectively, it's the core powers and purposes and powers of my nonprofit, but it is the pivoted direction of OSU Cascades during the pandemic. So in many ways, it was a no-brainer for us to take that expertise, and I refer to our own organization as a force multiplier. You need to put in a nail, you get a hammer. When you're done with that nail, you put the hammer away. And we aren't everything for every organization, but for events like this, again, shameless plug, and I don't mind saying it, we are subject matter experts in this, and we are putting together a career technical ed program to prepare students, our interns, not just young adults, but our interns to be able to do this type of work, workforce readiness, because this pandemic caught us all by surprise. But as an IT guy myself, I've been doing this stuff for 30, 40 years. Using Zoom, I know it seems really complex, it's really easy on our side. The thing I wanted to say to you is, you never know what skill or passion you might have that becomes the thing. You mentioned the food as an example. There's plenty of organizations that would help in wildfires or disaster aid and disaster response, Red Cross being one of the highest profile in the world, of course, but you don't know about all of the individual skills that you may or may not have that they would love to have, and you just have to connect. I was going to ask you, obviously you've been recruited for a while, and you found yourself recruited in no small part because you helped serve a need. But one of the comments that's been coming up recently, and I sent this out to all of you as the experts, is we have a lot of people that are moving into the community now that don't know you. They don't know you as from the school board. They have no history with you other than what they find online. But how do they...
Don't believe any of that.
Oh, it's totally true. Oh my God. You know what, at this point, I've learned on a personal basis to just accept it and move on, because the truth is so much easier. Like, what's written is so much better than what I'm thinking it is in my mind. But anyway, one of the questions is how to engage people. And I mentioned earlier that I'm always a guy that looks for a specific measurable ask. So I'm going to ask you a very direct question. How did they get you to say yes? Did they just say, come on in and help us do food, or was it a little bit more specific?
Oh, I actually called them and asked them what they needed. Because I know that when disasters strike, you end up with not as many people as you need, even when there's a lot of volunteers coming in. Because when people are coming in to help, if they don't know what they're doing, it's not very helpful, right?
Right.
So when we had, I think, 400 people that were coming into Central Oregon that needed to be fed during the wildfires, my husband and I are normally feeding
displaced
1,200.
Displaced people, so not...
Yeah, displaced.
Right, exactly.
Right. They were people that were displaced by the wildfires, that had lost their homes and were cut off by the fires at that point. And so my husband and I normally would have been doing charity functions for like 1,200 people. So we already know how to do that and have donors for food and things like that. So we just called them up and said, hey, can we do a few meals to like take these off of, your plate so that you can focus on other things that we don't know how to do. And it was really great. So we really enjoyed doing that.
I was just thinking back to one of the very first deep conversations you and I had years ago. It was, I think it was when you were filing for the state office, and we were talking about your choice at the time of having to pick a party, because we still have the partisan politics. And I made a comment. I mean, I'm not a conservative. I'm not a Republican in party, but I know it was a very important decision. And one of the things you and I talked about was a very similar background in terms of you made a choice in order to be effective and in order to make a decision and work with a particular party. But I don't vote along a party line. I vote based on decisions and people that are connected and understand how to do things. And you've always been one of the people that when you make decisions that I agree with and I support, great, you're great. Otherwise, you're the government again. You're that person that I want to just scream at.
Yes.
But at the same, but I think this is another one of those examples where if I were targeting and recruiting incoming people to Central Oregon, I want to make sure they know that there are still so many people, so many that have very strong partisan politics positions that are absolutely to their core dedicated towards serving our community and making it stronger. And I guess if nothing else, I hope that that continues to be a support that you see and find, is that people are volunteering and connecting without making it about politics. I'd love to talk to you about this and learn a year from now, right? Or
Well, I can give you an example.
Please.
So when I was a state representative, Eric Tobiasen came to me with the concept of the Veterans Village. And he said he was trying to get that put together, but he needed help from the city and the county and the state. And so I said, well, let's bring everybody together and let's have a meeting. And he said, Sherry, no offense, that sounds like not a very productive idea because everybody's on different ideologies. And I said, no. I said, I think everybody's on the same page on this. And what you need to do is step aside from partisan politics and find the things that you agree on with people. And so what I did was I got him to agree. I said, well, would you mind if I put together a meeting? So we brought together COVO, Central Oregon Veterans Outreach Program. And we brought together Barb Campbell and Bruce Abernathy. And we brought in Phil Henderson, and we brought in Greg Walden's staff, Nick, and we had a meeting together. And about 2 minutes before the meeting, my assistant said to me, I said, this is going to be great. Everybody's going to get along. This is going to be an awesome meeting. And he said, everybody could really disagree on this meeting.
right.
And I said, oh, yeah, that is true. But what we found was during those meetings, nobody ever disagreed or talked anything about the issues they didn't agree upon. We were all fighting to get a homeless village built so that we could support Gwen and her great work over at Bethlehem Inn with a low barrier structure. And so, you had everybody getting along because you have to find the common ground with people. And I think when we start from a place of partisan politics, we immediately lose common ground. And what we have to have is more issue-based conversations. And how do we move things forward? And the Veterans Village, with Eric's leadership, I was able to pass a state law. Barb and Bruce were able to get the council to pass funding. And Phil and Tony and Patty Adair were able to get land donated. And so with every one of those entities, and COVO got wraparound services. So with every one of those entities working together and not worrying about any one of their party labels or their jersey shirts, we were just all there to help Central Oregon
Right.
and Bend and our homeless community. And that was exactly, in my opinion, how, political leaders should work together and tackle issues. And so during the most partisan times, I think Bend is able to rise above those partisan type politics by common ground.
I did look at you with the segue as you're on the Zoom. I love it. I'll ask the control room to bring us back over to gallery view because this is a perfect opportunity for one of the experts that we brought on board and invited to come join us. And Gwen, let's talk to you here in a second. But Sherry, I wanted to say thank you for joining us and giving us your time. Because you're having so much fun bouncing around all those breakout rooms, I don't want to hold you back. And I want to encourage anybody that's watching us right now on Facebook or YouTube. The whole point is get off of Facebook and YouTube, get over on Zoom, use the code that's down on the screen. You're going to find Sherry, you're going to find Gwen, you're going to find our other experts, as well as all the 40 plus organizations that want to talk to you about the very things we're chatting about. So again, Sherry, thank you very much. Thank you for joining us, and thank you for support for our community.
I'm going to go over and join the Hunger Prevention Coalition with Don Senegal. So you guys have a great day, and thanks for doing this, Scott. This is really great. And anybody on Facebook, get off Facebook and hop on this. It's way more fun. Bye.
Thank you.
Bye, Sherry. Good to see you. And thanks
Bye,
for your
Gwen.
service.
Good to see you.
Gwen, how are you?
I'm good, Scott. How are you doing?
Welcome. Boy, I could not have asked for a better lead-in than that.
Well, it kind of felt like it was planned.
Oh,
but,
I assure you, there is nothing going according to plan today other than the fact that the Zoom meeting is open. So
That's cool. Well, I've had a chance to get to a couple of the rooms, talk to my friends. I was already at Hunger Prevention Coalition, Stroke Awareness, and our little panel room there as well, and a few others, and just amazing organizations represented here today.
So obviously Bethlehem Inn is where your current association comes from and the role that you play. You've served in other capacities on boards. You've helped advise people and send people offer referrals. That's a great reason why we invited you to be one of our experts here, because you can not only represent your own specific need and the role that you're looking for with the Bethlehem Inn, but also the community need in general. As you've moved around these rooms, what are you seeing? What are you hearing? What are people looking for or asking for?
I think everyone has, specific needs pertinent to their mission. And having served on different boards myself, and having having attended board fairs by Betsy and her amazing community connection, it's been a gift that is something that is available to our community. Even if they're not feeling like maybe they're not ready for a board, you can join a committee, and a committee is an easy way to kind of ease your way in. I've been on the City Club board for going on 7 years now, and it all happened because I joined the membership committee, and I was so passionate about City Club, and the next thing I knew, I was on the board and I was the president, and it happened because I found an organization that I was passionate about, and continue to be passionate about, and now we're finding ways to continue to engage people through that onboarding process. And this is a great way to just put your toe in the water.
You hit on something here, and I'm going to ask you. So Central Oregon has grown by a couple of people over the last couple of years, many of whom have executive level experience or have retired up here. Many of them are active in their business and in their careers, but have moved up here for a better quality of life. And as we have found out during the pandemic, you don't have to live where you work. One of the things I mentioned in that email to all of you was that there's a great deal of question now about how to engage with the incoming people who don't have the experience or the knowledge with the different organizations here. We're obviously in a pandemic, so people aren't necessarily meeting and networking. You mentioned the Volunteer Central Oregon, and in particular Betsy. That's why we wanted to make sure that we didn't let this pandemic year go away without hosting something virtually and showing not only that can be done, but also helping connect people. How would you, if you were an organization right now, reach the new people that are moving into the area that may not even know about Board Fair, Volunteer Central Oregon, or wouldn't, other than attending something like a City Club, which is topic specific, unless they dig a little bit more deeply into some of the past, how would you go recruit somebody? How would you go engage them? How would you go engage an incoming community member?
Well, I think it's a matter of, finding your passion. Oh, they're announcing dinner. It's finding your passion and recognizing with people that get involved. I use City Club as an example because what a great networking opportunity. It's the chamber events. It's when you're out there in the community and seeing what calls you, what do you feel drawn to be helpful and find out what you can contribute. Oftentimes, it's people that are retired, but I am amazed at how we have people on the Bethlehem Inn board that have very busy lives. Not many of them are retired. They have everyday lives, but they cling to the mission that we offer. So it's truly finding out who are the nonprofits in the world, in the community, the organizations that are making positive things happen, and jump in, join the meeting. You can go to a Zoom meeting now, from one to the next without having to get in your car. I think, we're looking forward to the time when we actually can meet. Meanwhile, it's such a great opportunity to just, be able to listen, ask questions, and find out what you can contribute.
So to that end, I wanted to say thank you absolutely for being part of this, because we talked about, when Betsy and I were talking about who to bring in here, we wanted to bring people that had experience with the community that could also talk about the different needs. The Bethlehem Inn obviously serves an extremely important safety net service for us in the community. And I know we've talked about a number of connections, sort of the old 7 degrees of separation from Kevin Bacon, and I think it's down to 3 or 2 here in Central Oregon. But
Yeah.
I am very thankful that you are out in there. And for those that are watching us on Facebook and want to talk to Gwen and want to learn a little bit more about her background, or ask the questions about where your particular experience or skills could be applied, where are some of those organizations that could use the benefit, or give Gwen an opportunity to recruit you directly and point you to the board for Bethlehem Inn. Again, shameless plugs are totally within
Yes.
bounds for this.
Well, I started at Bethlehem Inn as a board member. This was not planned. This was not my career direction or tact, but it came about. And surprisingly, there was other directors I was talking to today on the panel board that too, started as a board member and naturally flowed into something that I didn't plan it that way, but I couldn't have planned it better in finding something that is so rewarding and fulfilling.
Well, again, thank you very much. I'm looking forward to continuing these conversations as we go forward. We have Jen from the Nonprofit Association of Oregon that's going to talk a little bit more about some of the high-level stuff. But if you're online watching right now on Facebook and YouTube, as much as I want you to sit here and watch us, I want you to get off and go join Zoom. Use the code that's down at the bottom, 823-0593-1032. Passcode is boardfair. Go into one of the break rooms or one of the breakout rooms, and you will find Gwen. You will find her out there. Trust me, in just a moment, she's going to be there, either in the panel of experts room or off in one of the organizations. Gwen, thank you very much for joining us, and
Thank you, Scott.
we'll see each other
All
soon.
right. Sure, take care.
Bye. Jen, how are you?
I'm doing well, Scott. Thank you.
Good.
How are you?
I'm doing well. Thank you for joining. I know you and I talked a great deal over the phone as we prepared for getting this event together, because one of the things we wanted to offer to the participants that are actually interactively participating with the Zoom is, many of them, and I know for me in the early stages of searching out for board service, we had questions that we wanted to ask in a more generic sense, not from a specific organization. So what does board service mean, as opposed to talking to a particular organization about what they need for a board member. We've run a couple of City Club programs here through the student program that runs here at OSU, and we talked to the executive director of Nonprofit Association of Oregon. We talked about the amount of economic impact, but as you and I talked on the phone, we were talking about the types of questions people really do have about, why is this important? What is it that you're like, why am I doing this? Sure, you can show me numbers and you can talk about how important it is to be, whether it's puppies or kids or hunger or whatever, but tell me a little bit more about what you do, because I know we've talked about outreach as one of your primary goals.
Yeah, so, we do talk a lot about why it's important to get involved in your nonprofit community. And for me personally, what it really boils down to is that all of the things that make our communities and make our state a wonderful place to live and work and recreate are linked to a nonprofit somehow. So a lot of the basic amenities, basic needs organizations, as you mentioned, serving kids or fighting hunger, a lot of those are linked to nonprofits. Our wonderful recreation areas, parks, and scenic ways are often linked to some kind of friends group that is a nonprofit, a 501c3. Our libraries, our cultural centers, there are so many nonprofits that people don't always realize that they're engaging with a nonprofit organization. A lot of hospitals in our area are nonprofit systems. Those are very large examples. Pioneer cemeteries, very small, local, rural examples. So, we have a huge and very diverse nonprofit sector that underpins a lot of the things that we love about our state and about our local communities, and what make it, as I said, wonderful places to live and to work and to recreate.
You hit on a lot of things, and you hit one that was really important to me too, which is people don't necessarily know that who they're engaging with is a nonprofit. And I think that's one of the greatest examples of, well, I think it's a great example of an effective organization, but it also in a way, it almost undermines some of the goals where, from a marketing perspective, if I have a choice of going to a for-profit company or a nonprofit company, right out of the gate, I'm going to want to work with a nonprofit. Now, that's my own personal goals, but at the same point, there's also a lot of expectation that nonprofits are somehow either less qualified, less, I'm going to say less commercialized, less professional, whatever, which of course is the exact opposite. There's a number of organizations, I'm not going to refer to my own as well, but I go in and I buy spaghetti sauce. I bought some the other day, and I ended up buying some more Paul Newman sauce as just that's one of the easiest examples that I come across, because it's the same price point as the other competing products. Can you think of some other organizations locally here or even across Oregon that fit that same category, where they're either equivalent to or better than the commercial product?
Well, there are some examples of museums, cultural centers, as I mentioned, that are nonprofit institutions. There are also thrift stores that are run by nonprofits. They have this revenue arm that is running a thrift store or an animal shelter. So they're adopting out pets, and there are often nonprofit options and for-profit options, or government options and nonprofit options. And so, you have a choice as the consumer to find that nonprofit option. But there are lots of ways that nonprofits are utilizing for-profit revenue arms to impact their work and to perform against their mission.
We talked a lot about the economic impact. There's a lot of very important ways from a quantitative perspective to measure, but the qualitative ones are whether you're building a community, whether the feel goods, if you will. And I know a lot of the information that I've picked up from the guidance from the Nonprofit Association of Oregon has been about how to make sure that as an organization you're representing the value you bring, that is not just about price or not just about, well, it's the old come to the dark side. We have cookies, right? It's
Yeah.
What would you say today's goal from the local organization Volunteer Central Oregon is to invite organizations who are looking for board members or advisory board members, not necessarily direct volunteer roles other than those board service. How would you recommend they market themselves and talk about, as a brand new organization, the value they bring beyond just the quantitative, the value, the measurable?
Yeah, so it's important for nonprofit organizations to be able to communicate the larger impact that they're making in the community, the long-term impact. So oftentimes when I work with nonprofits and they're struggling to explain what it is that they do, or to make a case statement for their value proposition, it's because they're thinking too much in the near term. They're thinking, well, one example I worked with was an organization that teaches people about the diplomatic process and the democratic process. And they said, well, we provide some education. We teach people about democracy. I'm not really sure, how that plucks the heartstrings of a potential donor or a potential board member.
Right.
And I said, well, then don't talk about the near-term activities that you're performing. Talk about the longer-term impact that you hope to be making in your community. Talk about creating future diplomats. Talk about inspiring community and civic engagement. Talk about helping people to understand the government and their role in our civic society, and to inspire them to become voters, and the difference that one vote can make the difference that a bunch of new voters can make in our society and our government. And so don't talk about those near-term changes, talk about the longer-term impacts that you're hoping to make.
Totally agree. You don't have to mute. Come on. This is at this point, you could run around naked in the back and nobody, I mean, come on, this is Zoom in the pandemic time. So, by the way, that's an actually really important thing though that I was going to mention that the pandemic has proven is that you don't need to be directly engaged physically on site with helping an organization deliver that message and helping an organization with the services that you've got. You can be at home remote, or you don't want to go out in public, don't go out in public. And I love, I mean, don't get me wrong, I love hearing the kid in the background because I think that is such an example of what is not only acceptable, it is more than acceptable now. And I think that's a great example for me on how we're recruiting people going forward, saying you don't have to be there or dedicate your spare 50 hours in the week.
Yeah.
I want to ask you a follow-up question and really just maybe a wrap-up. Okay, so thank you for hanging out with us and joining and popping around. What have you been seeing or hearing from people? Is there one sort of thread, or does this work with this interactive Zoom thing?
I think it's been a really interesting experience to get to try out the different breakout rooms and to meet the different people that are representing their organizations. I think they're all really keen to get to know you guys. So if you're out there, or you're thinking about popping in to check on the rooms, there are some people that are not currently meeting with anyone that would love to see you. They're, waiting in the wings to talk to you about their organization and share with you about the board service opportunities that they have available and what it would mean for them to have someone just like you join their board to support their organization. But it's really exciting that there's all of this momentum about board service in Central Oregon. I'm glad to be a part of it.
Well, again, thank you very much. By all means, we're going to get you back there. For those that are online right now, watching us on Facebook and YouTube, get off of Facebook and YouTube. Get over onto Zoom. Come hang out with us. This is where the party's happening. Bring your kid. I mean, the whole point is to engage and ask these questions together. So, Jen, thank you very much. I know getting you to come on, we dealt with a couple of questions at the very beginning, but as soon as we connected, I assure you we're going to be providing more of these opportunities going forward for engagement. And again, thank you, and thanks the Nonprofit Association of Oregon for helping us on this event.
Oh, you're so welcome. We're so glad to be a part of it. And we're here as a resource to anyone that is looking for some training opportunities or some resources or any other support that we can offer in service of you and your mission.
Awesome. Thank you again very much.
Bye there.
Bye. Now, joining us is somebody. Now, welcome, Brandy. One of the things we were going to talk about very, very early on is the concept of Central Oregon. And as everyone knows, Central Oregon is one city and one city only, right? This is actually one of the big concerns we have. And Brandy, I could not think of a better example of why that's not only not the case, but your role in Crook County is to represent the nonprofits out in Crook County, correct?
In a lot of ways, yes. The Kerr County Foundation was founded about 23 years ago, and one of the main purposes behind it was to really represent nonprofits and try to bring new resources and opportunities to Kerr County. And I think that's even more important nowadays. With COVID, it's been wonderful. Honestly, being able to do Zoom meetings has been able to let a lot of our residents engage with things happening all throughout Central Oregon. And I think it's also encouraged people who are maybe in Bend to say, hey, what's going on over there in Prineville? You guys seem like you're up to a lot. So
you are up to a lot.
We are.
Yeah. And you're hidden.
We are.
You're hidden over there by those mountains, and we never know what's going on, right?
Just the glow of Facebook. We're right past that.
Yeah, exactly, the glow of Facebook. With all that Facebook money, we're not sure what you're up to out there. So when Betsy and I were talking about how to put together the board fair, one of the challenges is the business line that we use all the time is the reason people rob banks is that's where the money is. The board fair tends to focus on Bend as the centralized location, or Redmond, one of those two, serving as the hub, literally. But it undermines the need and the message of what Central Oregon is, and the fact that we are really a tri-county area. The needs are the same in many cases, even though they are community specific in some regards. As you've sat here at this event, what have you seen, or what have you talked to other people about that is either unique or different from Crook County and the nonprofits that you work with, or your own, versus the ones that are not in Crook County?
Well, I mean, I used to be in the Chamber of Commerce world, and you used to say, if you've seen one chamber, you've seen one chamber. And I think it's the same in the nonprofits. Everybody's got, to some degree, their own uniqueness, but then we all share a lot of our common issues, board development, fundraising, marketing, those kind of things are across the board. I think it does help sometimes when you're in a smaller community like Prineville and Kirk County, and folks are more apt to run across each other more often. We know about more of the programs going on in town and such. So sometimes it's easier to get the word out, to market, to recruit. And sometimes, we joke it's the same 30 of us running 20 different boards in town.
Right.
But, I can put the call out to my board of 14 and say, hey, I need 3 volunteers to do something. Do you know someone? And have, dozen names in a couple hours. Where I think sometimes in Bend has gotten so big that you just don't have the same personal relationships. You're not going to run into someone at the grocery store every day, So it is a little bit unique, but I think we're just as at fault sometimes for siloing ourselves away from the Central Oregon concept. And I think it's really important. I just, had a great conversation with Ken and with United Way. Crook County, as well as Jefferson County, and all this, the communities who don't feel like they're included because they're not Bend, really needs to step up and be able to have representation at a regional level.
Right.
There's a lot of good things that happen. Our region is unique because we are kind of pulled away from everywhere else in the state, and we have to work together. And when there's opportunities that come our way, we need to make sure that we can, utilize those to all different corners of the area. And I think that there's a lot we can all be learning from each other. And the more opportunities that our volunteers have to volunteer in other communities, the more knowledge we can bring back. So I encourage folks to get out there.
Well, I am extremely grateful that you came to join us, because one of the things that both Betsy from Volunteer Central Oregon and myself, Connect Central Oregon, we want to make sure that we, from I'll just even call it an equity perspective, continue to give a platform for those organizations that are not Bend. I mean, of course, I'm being a kind of a smart ass and sarcastic about it, but there is a tremendous amount of need and support that is coming from those organizations, and we want to make sure to come back, and we're going to help you amplify that message for that very reason. You kind of hit on a nerve for me, because I moved out of Silicon Valley myself because I wanted to move out of a region where we were having impact, but I was not getting that level of personal impact. And I'm very happy to be living here in Central Oregon and continuing to work with organizations such as yours. So again, thank you. For those that are out on Facebook right now and want to talk to Brandy, hopefully we've picked up a few people from Crook County or from Jefferson County that want to talk about something and learn a little bit more about some Crook County nonprofits that may have an interest. Join us on Zoom. Don't sit here and watch us on Facebook. Join us on Zoom. Interact with Brandy. Brandy, where are you going to be? What room are you heading into? What breakout room?
I am back in the expert panel. Somebody thought I was an expert, so they threw me in there. But I just kind of hang out in there for another few minutes here. But you can reach anytime Kirk County Foundation. It's pretty easy to find in online or on Facebook. And I'm always up to meeting with somebody. Kirk County is in the lowest level of COVID risk, so I can actually go to coffee with someone.
She's doing throwdowns. I get it. All right.
We're still there.
All
Our
right.
numbers slowly rise.
Yeah,
but we would love to talk with more folks. And I've had a couple people on this call say, how can I better reach Crook County?
Yeah.
And we would like to help any group with that in Central Oregon. So reach out to us.
Brandy, thank you very much.
Thank you. I appreciate you guys doing all this work.
Thank you. And coming up next, by special request, is Unity, Younity, a local nonprofit here in Central Oregon that helps address bullying. Arlene Gibson, who I've known for a few years now in different capacities, asked to take a moment or two to join. And by all means, Arlene, love to see you. How are you doing?
Thank you, Scott. Thank you for all you're doing for this conference. It's appreciated, and I'm doing great. We're looking for board members. Unity has served over 9,900 kids. If you remember, we're one of the only nonprofits where our staff does not get paid. So every dollar goes right to programs. And like Lapine, we've done 500 kids and we've given them $50,000. So we also raise the money for the schools that Scott just can't afford programs. They
Right,
are just
right.
budget crunches. And so we're very fortunate to raise it. We're looking for people to do community outreach, or our website is unityus.org. Our motto is Together We Are Stronger. And our services, we're developing teen empowerment programs now. And we have a wonderful program called Sharing the Love, where the kids are going to be, and if you know anyone that you would like us to do this with, we're making hearts, Lego hearts. And then the kiddos that make them are going to share the love with people in old age homes, or veterans, or our frontline workers. These kids are anxious to reach out to say thank you to these people. And so they'll be making little Lego hearts, assembling them, and then delivering them to people that are helping in our community. It's called Sharing Love.
I love it. I'm going to learn more about that as well. Listen, Arlene, we're coming close to our official time here, and I wanted to say thank you. Arlene actually helped me here in Central Oregon as a supporter, creating the first nonprofit and navigating the legal side of creating the documents. So I've had an opportunity to see some of the programs in progress in Unity. And again, thank you for your work and your help. I hope you found some people that are out here interested. And for those that are sitting here listening to us, get off Facebook, get off YouTube, come on over and find Arlene. Arlene's going to be in the Unity, YOUNITY, breakout room. Join us on the Zoom conference and go talk to and learn more about Unity.
Thank you, Scott. Thank you for all you do.
You're welcome. Happy to be here. I thank you again. We'll talk to you soon. Bye.
Okay.
Oh, I can keep people online all day long that love talking about how wonderful we are. But that's, I know from my perspective, I'm going to ask the control room. We'll go ahead and bring Betsy back in here. So much about what we are doing this for feels almost telethonish. Hi, Betsy. So much about what we're doing here feels telethony, or feels like we're trying to sell you something. What we're trying to sell you, honestly, is that unbelievable satisfaction knowing about the community impact that you're providing. Betsy and I are very similar in this regard, just in terms of from the leadership perspective. We know what it feels like and what it requires to put together programs like this, which are engaging other organizations. Or what's the Zen thing? We're planting trees that we never sit under. And I'm really excited. I mean, Betsy, I got to tell you, I know we've been talking about this. I promised you we'd pull it off. And as I said, the plans, plans are just those things that, life is what happens to you while you're making other plans. We're here at the end of our 2 hours of board fair. I've been watching online at the people that have been joining and coming on in Zoom. All the different experts that have been coming out and hanging out with us have said that there's been some incredible engagement. I want to thank you for helping pull this off, because again, we're building our community that we want to see.
Yeah, well, I want to thank you. This is, I've had people say to me, I didn't know you could do this. I didn't know that you could have a conference like this with everybody in a different room and be able to travel from room to room.
I seem to remember somebody else in the early discussion stages said I didn't know that as well. Who? What was her name?
Betsy somebody?
Betsy somebody. But see, I could not come up with a better example of what I do when I talk to people about what board service or advisory service is. You don't know what skills you may have or experience you may have that just means nothing. It's like, it's almost effortless. And do not get me wrong, Daniel and Brent are going to scream at me if I call this effortless. But this is our core competency, and we knew that we were in a position to help you, Volunteer Central Oregon, as well as the nonprofits, reach out to the community. And that's what we're asking for other board members, individuals or organizations to do, is figure out where those pairings are and just execute.
Right.
I mean,
well, there have been some connections made. today.
I'm super excited. I don't know if you saw earlier, Sherry Helt is bouncing around these rooms. I think the Red Cross has apparently already snagged her to join their board.
Oh, good.
Yeah, that was, she came in and began like that. I'm like, ah, another moment, always the bridesmaid, never the bride. But Betsy, is there anything, just in the interest of, we promised, and certainly online, we're right at 6 o'clock. This has been fantastic for us. I've been reading the feedback. I've been watching people. I mean, do not get me wrong. Zoom, even at this level, there are people that we're having trouble navigating. There's some technical questions, but I've been watching hundreds of people move in and out of the different rooms. Wrap it up for us. Volunteer Central Oregon, obviously volunteercentraloregon.org is where we want to go. But,
Yes.
but what's next? And I told you I was going to ask you this question. What's next?
Well, first of all, anybody who was not able to come to the board fair today, those organizations are going to be up on the website, so they can go to the board fair bar on volunteercentraloregon.org and click on the place that says view organizations, and they will see all of the organizations that are here today, and they'll see their board opportunities and their other volunteer opportunities.
So I've got it up on my, I'll ask them to bring it up on the screen here in a moment, but the Volunteer Central Oregon website, you start right there, you create you volunteer, look for an opportunity. If you're a nonprofit looking to find volunteers, register your organization, go through the process. It is simply a matter of clicking volunteer now and looking at the different organizations that are out there. I'll show you, because you did create the link here. If you want to just focus exclusively on the organizations that are at the board fair, there is a link right on the main page that says the 2021 board fair, view organizations. And what it's going to do is it's going to bring you with all the opportunities and environments that are set up right now for this group, for the people that are here at board fair. And we absolutely encourage you to learn more about Volunteer Central Oregon, learn about Better Together, and learn about these opportunities and where you can connect and use your skills and experience.
Absolutely.
So I see we have somebody that has joined our Zoom room here.
So Nadine is the American Red Cross.
Yes, I'm just heading out. So I wanted to say thank you. Gosh, what a wonderful event. Really, really well done. I had 4 wonderful conversations. So on my way out, I just wanted to say thank you.
Well, no, thank you for that. We're finishing up live on Facebook, and I'm going to go ahead and say for the record that you took Sherry Helt before I even had a chance to ask her. She joins our live room and says, "I'm joining the Red Cross." Like, oh, are you kidding me? So
Sherry is wonderful. She really helped us this last year with our disaster responses. So I'm really, really grateful that Sherry wants to come and help us in a more official capacity. So
well, we were talking about that right now, and in fact, I wasn't able to get volunteers in medicine to join, and I know we've talked about this a little bit, but we always talk about the disaster need, and that was an example of somebody, the Helt family, that had this experience, had the resources, had the access, and was not only able to deliver, but ultimately has now stepped into a role. I mean, we didn't need to convince Sherry about what board service was, but I think volunteers in medicine right now, I know for me personally, I'm up helping every 2 days up at the vaccine clinic, and my glory job some days is highlighter. Other days it's emptying boxes, but because I have that background of logistics movement, it's very easy for me. And it's an incredible connection back to organizations that need help. Yeah. Between what you just described with Sherry, between what we're learning right now with the volunteers in medicine and the what are they calling it right now? The Deschutes County Public Health Reserve Corps, I think is the term.
Something like that. Yeah.
It is. It's amazing how people's background that you might not think would be a direct connection or a value to the community is everything at that moment. So
it is. Everyone can provide what they might think is very small, but is actually incredibly large. You know, we say that no one is too big to do the small jobs, and it's often those small jobs is what makes that whole operation operate so perfectly. So you with your highlighters, you're doing a really good job, and it's important and it's needed. So thank you.
Well, and again, thank you, obviously, from the Red Cross. I'm not displaced at the moment, but I am so thankful that organizations like you continue to be there, and are very direct and open about recruiting for the types of volunteers you're looking for. So again, thank you.
We should talk.
We
Come see me one day.
Yeah, you know what? We should talk. I have a board opening. Before long, I'm going to find myself tied up. Anyway, thank you, Betsy. Stay with me for a minute.
Okay.
Good night, everyone.
Bye.
Bye-bye. Thank you.
So
Bye.
Betsy, in the time that we have right now to wrap up, I really wanted to say, I know we've talked about, we really wanted to do this. We wanted to make sure that this occurred. I'm thankful that you allowed us the opportunity to come here and do this. This is one of our core competencies and one of our core missions. You know I'm going to keep hitting you up with the what's next. And if nothing else, what I want to do is encourage people that are watching this either on the Zoom call right now or on Facebook or YouTube. I want you to go connect up with Volunteer Central Oregon, and I want you to say, this is what's next, this is what we need you to do.
Yeah.
We will only deliver what our community wants. We're smart people, don't get me wrong, but we not only don't know everything, but we are constant listeners. To that end, I wanted to give you, Betsy, the opportunity to come back and talk to me again about the conversation. I'm going to bring up your site right now because Community Conversations Bend is one of your, as you said, one of your passion projects. So I want to give you an opportunity to absolutely close out by talking about how to connect with you.
I would love to do that. I need to go say goodbye to somebody
Okay.
first.
Sure.
And then I come back. In just
Come on back. We'll hang out here for a minute. I'll vamp for a minute, and we'll talk for a minute. I'm going to ask my control room to keep me up on the computer right here because I'll vamp until Betsy returns. What I have up on the screen right now is the list of the organizations on the Volunteer Central Oregon website. Ultimately, the reason we did this event today is to help connect organizations and volunteers. So what you're seeing up on screen, and again, I'm going to ask Daniel, go ahead, or whomever, go ahead and put these up on screen with the laptop here. This is a live look at the organizations that are available on Volunteer Central Oregon. I mentioned a moment ago in terms of, let's see, we're going to get right back to the board fair group, to the organizations, and I'm going to pick one, I don't know, by random, totally random, Connect Central Oregon. Who thought I would have picked that one? This is what Connect Central Oregon is. This is what our organization is. This is what the team here that is partnered with the OSU Cascades Innovation Collab is doing. We provide meaningful impact and development of our community using a service learning approach. We have programs and initiatives that include Ignite Bend, as well as these types of activities, managed Zoom events, and so on. We have active need right now for some directors to help us figure out what's next. We want to ask you that question, what's next? What can we do to help provide your organization engagement? What need do you see in the community that either Volunteer Central Oregon or Connect Central Oregon can do? And by all means, let us know and engage, even if it's just that you want to kind of give us an opinion about what's going on. At the same point, we'd love to have you as a board member. We'd love to have you as an advisory board member and help us steer the organization. So with that said, I see Betsy's back. Betsy, we're going to bring back up Community Conversations. And again, we've talked, today has been dedicated almost exclusively to the Volunteer Central Oregon and the culmination of a lot of the programs that you've helped bring here to Central Oregon and hand it off to Better Together. But let's talk for a moment about Community Conversations. Tell me a little bit about it.
Well, a group of us about 5 years ago decided that we'd like to start conversations about community issues. and bring together community members to talk with each other. And we have been doing it every 2 or 3 months. And since last spring, we've been having the conversations online. So people can sign up to get on our invitation list by going to communityconversationsbend.org. And it's
And I have that up on screen. I have that up on screen right now, and it says your next one is March 7th. But
I know that's because we just got the title and everything for the next one, which will be May 23rd. And we're bringing together 6 elected officials, and they will talk just for a little bit, and then we'll split into 6 groups with 1 public servant in each group, and a group of about 7 people will get to talk together. And then we come back together in our big group and talk about public service and how to get involved.
it's almost like it's a common thread with you.
It is.
Well, Betsy, again, as we come to a close here, I want to say thank you for the opportunity, and thank you for the support that you're doing here in the community, and thank you for allowing us to pull this off together. As I said before, I take a bullet for you, and I know I'm so happy about the community impact that you provide, as well as what you've offered me as I navigated here through the Central Oregon nonprofit landscape. So I'm very thankful that you continue to do this for the community, and hopefully the feedback, if what we're already hearing and seeing is there, we may have to do this again in a few months.
We might. And Scott, thank you for the amazing work and partnership that you have made this happen, and it's amazing that this kind of event can happen. Thank you.
Well, you're very welcome. And the unsung heroes in this back room are Daniel and Brent, the interns and the leads with Connect Central Oregon that have pulled this off, that have been sitting there listening to me navigate. They've been managing some of the challenges that we were facing with some people in the technical connecting up to Zoom. So again, my heartfelt thanks to those two for pulling this off. I wish I had a control room camera that I could show you, but unfortunately they're probably going to be sneering or snarling at me right at the moment. But this is fantastic. We're going to go ahead and wrap up our online version. We're going to leave the Zoom rooms open because I do see that some conversations are still going on. And we're going to go ahead and close out Board Fair. So if you're online watching on Facebook right now, don't join the Zoom. Go to volunteercentraloregon.org, sign up or learn more about the organizations that presented here or the ones that didn't. There's many organizations that didn't have the time or the opportunity to align with this particular event that are still extremely active, extremely supportive, and are looking for people like you.
Yeah.
All right, Betsy, any final parting words of wisdom?
Just get involved. It's really fun.
There you go. All right, everyone, we're gonna go ahead and fade to black, close out our conference and our online streaming. And until next time, and until Betsy answers the question, what's next, we'll be working on her in the background here to make sure we get an answer. All right, bye, everybody.
Bye.
All right, Betsy, stay with me for a minute.